Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. So in the last video, I gave a couple really powerful techniques to help you to radically shift and change your life or the direction of your life. So if you didn't listen to the video, go back and listen to it. I give a couple easy stuff in the first half of it, but if you want to get to the two really either NLP techniques, etc., go start it at 19 minutes. So that was last night's video. The title is How to Get Unstuck Mentally and Find Solutions to Destroying Narcissists. The very first image says this video will change your life. Okay, so that's the video. So go watch it. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, start at 19 minutes. So I'm going to take one of the techniques. Now here's the thing about these techniques. They seem too easy, too simple to be powerful. They are unbelievably powerful if you apply them. In the early days when I was the first 2 or 3 years into NLP, one of my problems, so I was a national champion in kickboxing, and cutting weight was always something you had to work on. Always had to watch what you ate, but one of my problems was I had a sugar craving like you could not believe. So there was a technique that was designed for getting rid of bad habits and shifting them to healthier habits. So you literally shift from, you know, eating, because mine was sweet, like sugar candy, like stuff like that. Okay, that was my bad craving. So donuts and, you know, baked goods, that wasn't as much of a problem. So that I did it specifically for this, and then that craving would trigger me to go eat fruits and vegetables and very, very healthy stuff. So here's the weird thing about the technique. So I did the technique over and over, and I thought, yeah, I think that's enough. And I did it. And I remember walked into the other room where my sister was, and I was in the living room. And I felt kind of down, like, yeah, that's bullshit. That thing didn't work. And I kind of forgot about it. So that's something I noticed with a lot of techniques that I was learning during all these trainings. It didn't seem like anything worked, and so I mean, I guess I was expecting some amazing explosion or fireworks or something, and nothing happened. And again, it wasn't just that one technique. A lot of NLP techniques were like that. You just walked away going, okay, that was a waste of time. So about 3, maybe 4 weeks had gone by, and my sister had repeatedly asked me, like, hey, do you want some candy? Do you want some candy? Like, she would constantly do this to me. And I was like, no, that's okay. And boom, I'd go to the refrigerator and I'd start eating some carrots or some celery. So this went on for about 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. And I remember one day my sister goes, hey, what's going on with you? I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you haven't eaten any candy for like a month or something like that, she said. I'm like, really? I didn't even notice. And I was eating some celery as she was saying this to me, and she had just asked me if I wanted some candy about 2 minutes before that. So here's what happened. It was like, I was like, wait a minute, because you got to understand, like, my whole life since I was a little kid, I just craved like sweet sugar candies, like hard candy, etc. And I hadn't touched it ever since I did that technique. I was like, oh my God, it worked. And so that's kind of part of the thing is, once you do the technique, you might not have this big emotional rush or shift or anything at all and feel like, okay, well, that didn't seem to work. And so a lot of times I say, hey, well, just go see, you know, see what happens over the next couple of weeks. So lo and behold, it worked, and it's been that way ever since. I mean, here I am 30 plus years later, and I just don't touch sweet sugar candy. If ever, like, years go by, even if someone offers it to me, you know, I might take a piece, but it'll be years and years. So here's a little secret that was within that technique. Now, when I say little, it's a very powerful secret. It is the whole secret of why some people make shifts and some people don't. And it's going to answer the reason why a lot of you guys will pray and pray and pray and do manifestation techniques, etc., goal setting, and it just doesn't work. And here's the reason why. So over the last 6 months or more, a lot of you came to my channel because you were dealing with narcissist abuse. You just got out and away from narcissists. Like you finally saw what was going on with your family and friends and your associates and relationships, etc. Okay, so a lot of you guys came and you were terrified, you were scared. You're like, what do I do? What do I do? What's going on? And you also wanted to have, I don't know if to verify it, but realize like, oh, it's not just me. It's like, no, it's not just you, and that's what the narcissist wants you to feel. So all of a sudden you find YouTube videos that are verifying everything that you've been going through and going, oh, okay, so this is real. Like, yeah, it's totally real. So a lot of you have been watching YouTube video after YouTube video because you're trying to figure this out, you're trying to heal from it, you're trying to get over it, you're trying to escape, and you're trying to get away from it. Some of you have hired coaches. You've hired some of these people that are these YouTube experts and Dr. So-and-so and this and that, and you're still living in fear and you're afraid to connect with people. Like some of you have sworn off relationships for the rest of your life. So here's the deal. Here's what's going on. So a lot of you have talked to me, come to me, worked with me, or just responded on my YouTube channel. And here you are, a year, 2 years, 3 years into it, and you still are really battling the demon. Well, here's why. So let's say you come to me to work with me and you're saying, well, you know, I want to heal from narcissist abuse. Now, it sounds wonderful, but it's really not. Because what happens is you're going in a direction. You're focusing on narcissist abuse and healing from narcissist abuse, etc. So I'm going to pull a technique from the last video after the 19th minute mark, okay? One of them was for what purpose, okay? So a lot of people are like, you know, Mike, I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm just like, I'm in this revolving door. I can't get out of this narcissist abuse thing. I don't know how to escape. I don't know how to get away. See, you have to ask yourself that question, for what purpose, for what purpose, for what purpose. And here's why. It connects you with your higher intention. Now, don't think of it as higher, godly, spiritual, I must sacrifice 10 people on the Aztecan freaking pyramid of whatever in Central America. No, it's just common sense. All right, here's what I mean. So a lot of you guys are saying, I want to heal from narcissist abuse, and you can't quite get away from it. Here's why. You're trying to get away from something, okay? So there's towards motivation and away from motivation. So when you're trying to get away from something, it's like once you get really, really far away, you kind of lose your motivation, and then you have to go back to it to get your motivation again. So this is a very unhealthy form of motivation. These are the people that go up and down, up and down. It's like you can't get out of this cycle. It's like you keep rotating back in. You start to feel good, and then you go back in. You start to feel good, and then you go back in. It's because your intention is to get away from narcissist abuse. Your attention should be, okay, let's do it. So when you ask yourself that question over and over, what's my purpose for this? What's my highest purpose for that? So let's say you come to me and say, hey, I want to heal from narcissist abuse. Okay, my first question is be like, well, for what purpose? You might look at me in a shocked manner going like, what? What do you mean? Because they're assholes, because they're demonic, because they're mean. Like, okay, so what's your highest purpose for that? It's like, well, I want to get away from that. Okay, so what's your highest purpose for getting away from that? Well, I don't want to go through it anymore, okay? Okay, so once you stop going through it, what's your highest purpose for that? And you're like, huh, okay. Now this is where you start to escape from the cycle. So then I might ask and say, so if you're not going through that anymore, then what would you have? Or what would you be going through? And like, oh, well, if I wasn't going through it, then I'd be free of it. It's like, okay. So once you're free of narcissist abuse, what's your highest purpose for that? And you might say, huh, I never really thought of that. And that's the whole reason why you're not getting out of it completely, is because you don't have any direction. Your direction is actually facing towards narcissist abuse until you pop out of it. That's why these questions, for what purpose, is it reconnects you with your highest purpose in life. And now you have a direction, and now you can go in that direction. Otherwise, you're literally going to either spin in circles around narcissist abuse, or you're going to go back and forth with it because you don't know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, your unconscious mind doesn't know where to go. It doesn't know where to take you. So saying I want to get away from narcissist abuse or heal from narcissist abuse, that's narcissist abuse. You can't get away from it. It's like, so for what purpose? Well, because I want to live my life. For what purpose? Because I want to do something with my life. Well, what's your highest purpose for that? Well, I want to focus on my dreams and my goals. Well, what do you want to focus on your dreams and your goals for? Well, because I want to accomplish them. And I'll say, okay, so what's your highest purpose for accomplishing your goals? So if you accomplished your goals, how would that make you feel? Or what would you experience? Like, well, I'd feel elated. I'd feel happy. I'd feel alive. I'd feel passionate. And then I'd say, well, once you feel alive and elated and passionate about life, well, what's your highest purpose for that? It's like, oh, God, I'd feel so free and I'd feel so alive and I'd feel so this and that. And all of a sudden, your unconscious mind goes, oh, you want me to go that way. And you're like, yeah. And all of a sudden, you come into alignment, literally, with yourself. All of a sudden, all the obstacles fall by the side. All of a sudden, the path starts to clear. And even if you have to go over a hump or a hill, it's a lot easier because now you have both of your engines going in the same direction. See, if your unconscious mind is going in reverse and your conscious mind wants to go forward, you're literally doing a tug of war. In other words, you're going in two completely different directions and you're pulling yourself apart. So if you feel like you're pulling yourself apart, it's because you're not in alignment or congruent with yourself. Now here's the whole thing. This used to be like big talk to me, and I was like, oh my God, wow. And it was like, it's not as big as you think. See, all you need to do is find your intention, your purpose. And you literally ask yourself, what's my purpose for this? What's my purpose for that? It's called being purpose driven. Okay. And again, that's not even that big of a deal. Okay. But it makes it a whole lot easier when you're asking yourself, well, what's my purpose for doing this? What's my intention? See, everything you do in life is all about intention. And you need to start looking at yourself and other people in that way. Because if you start paying attention to someone and asking yourself, well, what's their purpose for saying this to me? What's their purpose for doing this? What's their intention behind their words? Number one, you're going to get a lot more clarity in communication because words are they're not very good at expressing what we're trying to say. They're really not. And that's one thing you learn when you start learning neuro-linguistic programming or studying linguistics. You're like, yeah, words alone are not very good at getting the message across. So number one, you can really pick up a lot faster, like, oh, they're trying to say this to me. This is their intention. Number two, for those of you who have dealt with bad people, narcissists, you can hear the words and be like, oh, yeah, they're saying A, but they don't mean A at all. They're trying to set me up, or they're being really sneaky or manipulative right now. And that's why a lot of people are like, well, how can you figure this stuff out? It's because I'm always looking for the intention behind their body language, behind their tonality, behind their facial expression, behind their words, etc. I'm just like, so what's their intention here? It's the same reason why I'm really good at working people therapeutically, because when people walk in, a lot of times they don't even know what really is the problem. They might know they have anxiety, or they can't seem to achieve their goals, or their whatever. So I'm always listening for what is the intention, what's the purpose, what's behind their communication. Because a lot of times when people walk in, they literally have no idea what's stopping them. They're like, a lot of them like, I don't really know what's stopping me. I think it's this, I think it's that, blah, blah, blah. So I'll start saying, well, what's your purpose for coming here? Like, well, I feel like shit. Okay, well, what's your purpose for this? And I walk them through it. So here's what I'm trying to say, okay, is your intentions are created by your purpose, okay? And if you are not asking yourself, okay, I'm going to have a meeting with so-and-so, or my wife's coming in the room, we're going to have a conversation, and you have to ask yourself, well, what's my purpose? What's my intention? Like, what am I trying to communicate? What's my purpose for that? What's my purpose for that? What's my purpose for that? And then, pop, your intention comes up, and all of a sudden, it adds clarity and simplifies your communication with them. This applies to everything. When I was a kid, I was just out in the yard. We moved to Wisconsin. There was a tornado. And we had to go out after the tornado because it pulled all these cardboard boxes out of our garage. And my mom's like, hey, go get those boxes. Because they went across the street into the neighbor's yards. And we're grabbing all this stuff that got sucked out of the garage. And all of a sudden, kind of friends. We had met them once or twice. They lived about 2 blocks away across the street from our step cousins. Well, it was a Mexican family, and they had pulled up, and we were, again, grabbing these big cardboard boxes. And they said, "Hey, do you guys want to go boxing?" And my brother Gary goes, "No." I'm like, "What's boxing?" Because at first I said no, but I'm like, "What do you mean boxing? Like, you know, put boxes together?" I'm like, "Screw that," because we've been doing this for like half an hour, and like, I don't want to make more boxes. So Tito, who was about a year or two older than me and about my size, he was kind of small for his age, but he leans out of the car and he goes, "No, boxing!" And he starts throwing punches in the air, and I'm like, "Yeah!" And I threw the box up in the air, and I just ran, and I jumped into the car. Well, it turns out they kidnapped me. No, I'm just kidding. So here's the deal. I don't know what it was, but man, I took to boxing like, I don't know, like a bee to honey, or however you say that stuff. I loved boxing. I fell in love with it, and man, I had direction in life. Now here's what they say. They say that sports gives kids direction, and I'm going to tell you something. It absolutely does, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now here I was getting up at 5 in the morning doing like push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks and running in place and shadow boxing for like an hour, and I'd drench in sweat. I'd stretch for 20-30 minutes, and I would just run 5 to 7 miles every morning. And then I'd go to boxing practice for 2.5 hours after school, but it was actually after dinner, so about 7 to 9. And then when I get home, I would do my homework, and I had 2 paper outs after school, etc. And then I got 2 more in the morning, you know, as the year passed by. And here's the really weird thing about it. I didn't have paper outs before. My grades were just average. But all of a sudden, my grades just skyrocketed to straight A's. I was focused. I was motivated. I listened close to the teacher. I took notes. I was paying attention. And I would wake up and I would just run down and I would do the paper outs so I could do my running. Or I'd run first and then do the paper outs because I had to get it done before I had to go to school. I had 2 in the morning, 2 after school. And then when I get out of school, I'd sprint home to get my bike, and then I'd go down to the paper out place, get my papers, and I'd deliver the papers, blah, blah, blah. And I had to do it really fast so I could make it home in time to eat dinner and then run off to boxing practice. And then I'd get home, I'd get home about 10 o'clock at night usually, because I didn't get picked up right on time all the time. Sometimes it'd even be later than that. And sometimes, so that the boxing was in the basement underneath this bar. It was like some club, like 2030s club. I forget what, but that wasn't what it was, but it was something like that. And we were allowed to go upstairs to ask for water at the bar, but we were only allowed right at the beginning. We weren't allowed to walk around, and we could use the phone to call home. So they were really nice to us, actually. So whenever I was done with boxing practice, I'd go upstairs, get some water, make the phone call, and then I would go sit in the hallway under the light and I'd do my homework. Okay, sometimes it'd be for an hour longer because my mom wouldn't pick me up for a long time, etc. And then I'd get home and I would do my homework more there, etc. And wake up early, do homework for another 15 minutes, do my paper out and paper outs in the morning and run. And then once I got back, take a shower and then eat. And then I would do homework for another 20 or 30 minutes and boom, I'd literally sprint to school. So all of a sudden I was undefeated for about 1.5 years, maybe not quite 2 years, and then I won the state championship, etc., etc. And I remember one day after I won the state championship and the season was over, and I was with my friends Timmy and his twin brother, I cannot remember his name, and they had skateboards, and they were always whining and bitching and complaining. They had rich parents, or definitely upper middle class, and their grades sucked, but their parents were smart, and the kids were smart too. They were just lazy. And I remember, like, when we went up to the church up the hill, they kind of went down the driveway, and I stopped at the sidewalk, and I go, I don't get it. Like, why is it that I'm doing all this stuff, you know? And they're like, Mike, can I have $1 so I can buy whatever? And I'm kind of looking at them like, you're borrowing money from me, the poor kid. Like, well, I don't have a paper out. I'm like, yeah, like, why don't you have a paper out? Why aren't you doing something with your life? So I sat there and pondered it, and I remember I looked up, and the most important thing to me was boxing. So what that did was every decision fell in line and in alignment, and because of that, I did better at everything. My grades went up. I did better in school sports. I did better at everything because everything had a place and an order and a value, a hierarchy. What I'm saying is it is very, very important for you to ask that question all the time. What's my purpose for talking to this person? What's my purpose for that? What's my purpose for that? You know, do it 3, 4, 5 times, and all of a sudden you have clarity in conversations. All of a sudden your conversations are smoother because you're clear on what you want to talk about and what your direction is. Here's the deal. You had to understand something. It was really clear. Boxing was my #1 purpose. Like, that was above and beyond anything and everything. From, am I going to eat this food? Nope, because I have to cut weight. Am I going to sleep in this morning an extra hour? Nope, because I have to run 7 miles. Am I going to do it? Nope, because I have to do this, right? And here's the funny thing. School, my grades were #2, so they took next priority. So those were my top 2 priorities, and that's why I did really well. Well, #3 was my paper routes, right? Now, let's say my paper route started screwing with my grades or with my boxing, my running or training or anything. Guess what? I would drop that paper route in a heartbeat. It simplifies everything. It gives you direction, and all of a sudden you're getting more done. So let's say, okay, that day when I was up there at the church with Timmy and what's his face, his twin brother, I can't think of his name right now, is all of a sudden I was like, I don't want to do this. These guys are just wasting their time. They're not doing nothing. Like, you know what? I'm going to go run 5 miles. And so boom, I skateboarded home and I got my running shoes on and I went and ran 5 miles. So here's the deal. Let's do it. So you're sitting there saying, well, I want to heal from, you know, a narcissist abuse. I want to heal emotionally. I want to have clarity. I want, etc. So I'm going to ask you, for what purpose? What's your purpose for healing from narcissist abuse? What was the first thing that came up unconsciously? So when you ask this question, just like what comes up, like allow yourself, your inner self, to let this image or phrase or verb or sentence come up. Like, well, my purpose is I want to heal. Like, okay, so once you heal, what's your highest purpose for that? Like, well, once I'm healed, my highest purpose for that is to do something with my life. It's like, okay, so what's your purpose for that? And keep going until you find a higher purpose. See, one thing that I've done with this channel, if you guys may have noticed, I don't really talk about narcissist abuse as much as I used to, because I really made a conscious effort. Like, I don't want to sit here and go in this like, what do they call this revolving door, like the AA, the 12-step programs where you never leave, okay? I was like, no, I'm not going to sit here and deal with narcissist abuse for the rest of my life. What a waste of time. Once you learn from it, once you see the strategies, the techniques, etc., it's like, oh, once you deal with someone who's being a negative dickhead, cut them out of your life. Boom, done. So you stop doing all the wimpy, oh, well, I feel sorry for them. Oh, yeah, well, do they feel sorry for you? Well, no. Are they treating you well? No. Then cut them out of your life. Boom, done. And move on with your life, because you have a purpose. You're not here just to go through a damn 12-step revolving door. You're here to move forward with your life. So during an NLP training, it was a 5-week training in Hawaii, when we got to this one question, what's your highest purpose, what's your highest purpose, what's your highest purpose for that, what's your highest purpose for that, once you have that, what will that allow you to experience or feel or have, and once you have that, what's your highest purpose for that, they said, look, for the next 2 weeks, even before you walk in the door of this training, ask yourself, what's my purpose for going to today's class? What's my highest purpose for that? What's my highest purpose for that? You have to start conditioning this into you, and because otherwise you're going to willy-wally and wally-womp around, go left, right, up, down, spin in circles, and you'll never get anywhere. I walked into there's this new chicken restaurant. It's called Dave's Hot Chicken, okay? It's from Southern California, but we have a couple of them up here now in Northern California, okay? They're kind of spreading throughout the state, and I think in Arizona, and etc. So there's a young kid there, and I kind of looked at him like, I go, what are you going to do with your life, young man? He goes, well, I don't know. I think I might want to be an engineer, or I might want to be a businessman, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you in school? He's like, yeah, first year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give you the biggest secret in the world. You need to pick a goal and go for it, because here's the deal. You're going to go left, right, up, down. You're going to change degrees and change your major again, change it again. And now you've been in college for 6 years and you don't even have a 4-year degree. Pick a degree, stick with it, and get it. If you decide after that, like, you know what? I want to get this other degree, then go back to school and get that degree. Do not change mid-sentence or mid-term, because you're going to waste a lot of time. This is why it's really important to ask that question over and over. What's my purpose for having this conversation? So here's the deal. My roommate didn't take the exercise very seriously. So here we are 30 plus years later, and he's just never really went anywhere with NLP. He just kind of spun in circles, didn't know what he was doing. Because he goes, why are you doing that exercise? I'm like, well, because they told me to. They said it was really important. So I would do it every time we'd go to dinner. What's my purpose for ordering this? What's my purpose for asking Rob this question? What's my purpose for this and that? And I did it. And here's what I noticed. The people that took that exercise very seriously, their lives turned out very well. The practices got off the ground. They got really good at NLP and hypnosis. They got really good at helping people. They became happier people, more direction, more purpose and intended, etc., etc. Whereas people like Rob, angry, bitchy, moany, complainy, just like Timmy and his twin brother. Here's the way life works. You get what you focus on, so focus on what you want. If you focus on healing from narcissist abuse, once you heal, so what's your highest purpose for that? Before you even heal from it, you need to already know what direction you're going in. Otherwise, you're going to spin in circles, okay? The way the unconscious mind works is you get what you focus on, so focus on what you want. Saying I want to heal from narcissist abuse means you want to get away. That's called away from motivation. Away from motivation is a very unhealthy form of motivation. It keeps you in that cycle. You want to get out of the cycle and move on to a better stage of life by saying, where do I want to go? What do I want out of life versus what I don't want out of life? And that's it. Once you have your intention, miracles start to happen. That's when the power starts to kick in. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you like this video, go ahead and click subscribe, click the like button, make a comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you want to make a donation, there's a donation PayPal link right there in the description box below the video. God bless you guys. I will see you in the next video. Remember, be a purpose-driven person and go and find your intention. Know what your intention is, and everything will fall into place. Okay guys, that's it for this video. This is the very end of it. I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.